Tim sent in a question this week asking about what can he do when his upper shoulders go into spasm. The interesting thing about muscle spasms, it doesn't matter if it's in your calf, arch of your foot, shoulders, even in your chest muscles. A muscle spasm is a muscle spasm. And what I want you to visualize is look at the screen right now. I want you to visualize the pain leading to spasm, which then leads to spasm resulting in more pain. Look at that pattern, and you'll notice that there's a trigger point that tends to be at the center of the whole problem. So I want you to stop and think about this as an endless loop. I want you to think about this almost like an electrical current. The brain is pretty amazing. It says, okay, you've got a trigger point. We'll go off the shoulder since that was the question that came in. Remember, you can apply it to any muscle, but you're looking at a shoulder that has a trigger point in it. Now, if you're using a Theracane, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I showed you how a Theracane has that little ball at the end of it. You can put that in your shoulder. As you're moving through the consistency of the tissue, if you find a little knot, that's the trigger point that we're referring to. We always like to say in the physiology world, trigger point is usually the point of if you were to have, pardon me, if you were to run into something that would cause the shoulder or the arm to be pulled out really quickly, that trigger point where it's tight in the muscle tissue, that will more than likely be the source and the site of where the muscle will tear. But we could talk about that in another video. But I'm talking about finding where the trigger point is at because it's very relevant to the conversation that was, the question rather, that was asked. What do I do to interrupt a muscle spasm? There's two things that you can do. Number one is put direct pressure on it. So it's imperative that you find that trigger point area because that's where, if you take the Theracane, you want to put that trigger point, you want to put the ball right into the belly of that trigger point. Now here's the amazing part about the brain. It's going to get a message from the muscle that says, hey, that hurts. The muscle sends a message back and says, remove the pressure. You say, no, I'm not going to. Kind of a parent-teacher conference going on here. And what you're trying to do is you're literally trying to interrupt this neuromuscular pathway known as pain, spasm, pain at the site of the trigger point. Now, with that being said, you're going to hold that and the brain's going to go, hey, that hurts, take it off. You go, nope, trying to get rid of this spasm. Hey, that hurts, stop. No, I'm not. And you do this. There's no definitive amount of time. What you will notice is the brain will continue to fire a message to try to get you to take the pressure off. And when you don't, it's like walking over to the wall and turning off the light switch. It, at a neuromuscular level, will turn off the pain, spasm, pain cycle. Is it comfortable? No. Do you want to be like just putting so much pressure onto that trigger point that you're in tears? No. The body will respond to mild touch. It could be a thumb, it could be a tennis ball, it could be a lacrosse ball, a golf ball. If you're in the arch of your foot, you could use one of those three balls. I find that in the shoulder area, the Theracane tends to be one of the best. If you've watched any of my other videos, I'm a huge fan of the Roll Recovery R8. And I like that one when we're getting into areas around the calf where you can strip the shins and then get into that calf area. I also use it for the adductors, the inner and the outer part of the leg, upper leg. The adductor, and we call it abductor, and the adductor. I'm not trying to push any of these devices on you. I want to give you the resources that can help you get out of this dreaded pain. Because what happens is, as you get into that pain, spasm, pain, it just makes the muscles tighter and tighter and tighter. And as you've probably already experienced, can cause headaches, can make you sick to your stomach. And like we said earlier, it can also be a catalyst for an injury, which obviously we don't want those. I mentioned earlier that there's two things that you can do to turn off this pain, spasm, pain. First is direct pressure. And the second is the use of ice. And we tend to use them in this order. If you're not able to get the trigger point to what we call make it shut down and be quiet, this is when you'd want to move over to a small bathroom Dixie cup. If you get the little Dixie cups, fill them up to the rim, and then freeze them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to peel just a little bit of that paper away, and you're going to do circular massage in that trigger point that you've identified. You're going to have the same communication between the brain. Hey, that's cold, please remove it. You don't. We're going to keep doing the circular massage on there for two reasons. One, the question is, how long do I need to do the ice massage? Well, you have two things. Either continue to massage until the entire ice cup melts away, And it can be a little bit of a mess, right? You have to have a towel while the ice cup melts, or until the spasm stops. Sometimes it only takes 30, 60 seconds. Sometimes you might need to do the entire cup. If you get done with the first ice cup and you've completed circular massage and you've gotten it all the way melted down and you still feel that spasm, give it a little bit of a break. Give it 5-10 minutes. Let it air warm up. If you want to place a towel on it or moist heat, that's fine too. And then come back with another ice cup. Most people are not very hip on using ice, so that's why I always recommend trigger point therapy. However, if you've been in pain for a while or those spasms just keep coming back, you might want to move over to the ice cup. So when you're looking at interrupting that spasm pain, you can do it either with ice and or direct pressure. I'd recommend starting with direct pressure with the right tools. Like I said, you can start with your thumb. Most people's thumbs get tired pretty quickly. If you were sitting in front of me and I was working on your shoulders, obviously I can do that because I can get the leverage, but for you to try to reach up, that might not be as comfortable and or convenient. So look at things like the Theracane and the Roll Recovery R8, and then I use tennis balls, lacrosse balls, and golf balls for the arches of my feet, underneath my glutes, and into my hamstrings when I'm in a seated position. As always, great questions. I hope this helped answer how do you get rid of this dreaded spasm pain, ice and or direct pressure. Thank you so much for sticking around with me up to this point. If you by chance have a question and you'd like us to answer it, or a frustration or something you need clarified, please feel free to reach out to me and my team. You can do so. contact@coachrob.com. We're answering a question a day here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please do turn on your notifications. And as always, thank you so much for your time watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.